Okay, welcome back. As we're continuing with the skilled counselor training model, I would like to say that as we go through the course, you're really going to know, you're going to learn and actually begin to master every single one of these sections. And so our short little videos, we're kind of going through each individual section, but I think it's kind of helpful to see the entire model all on one screen here. So today, right now, we're going to go through the understanding stage. And so we're looking at sort of this interchangeable empathy, this is back and forth empathy that we want to share. Then we'll move to this additive empathy. So it's going to be about 3 of the skills in the first section and about 3 skills in the second section. So let's go ahead and we'll move forward to the interchangeable empathy process. So the very first one is stating feeling and content. And so here's where you're listening to what the client is saying, and you're kind of helping the client to connect the dots. Now this might seem somewhat easy for you. You would think that, you would assume that clients just do this regularly. They have a feeling and they have content, and they just connect those two things together. But the reality is people don't do that. They think about things, but they feel about things, but they tend to not pull those things together. And so what you're going to do is listen for those emotions and cognitions, and you're actually going to create a one sentence just to accurately reflect that central issue. And so we even have an example down here of what that might look like. So, well, you feel a certain thing because of whatever the situation happens to be. And so it might be, maybe an example, as I'm listening to someone talk about their adult children and maybe some of the bitterness that they've experienced, they might say, you feel really guilty as you observe your children's response to you. And so you're trying to connect those two things together. That really sends this message of empathy right back to the client. So that's at least one example. A couple other things here. Assumes the previous reflecting, paraphrasing, and summarizing were generally accurate. So this typically doesn't happen in the very beginning. This is as you listen to the client for a while and you provided those reflective statements, and you've also provided the clarification and the summary statements as well. And then we have our sentence down here. I added this in. This is probably not in. I don't believe this is in your text. It's reflective use of metaphor, analogy, illustration, diagrams, stories, or examples. And I'm going to be a one who really promotes and encourages creativity in the therapy room. And so, as you listen to someone's story and you think about how can I help reflect back to them what they experience. An example I'll even give with that bitterness piece with that older adult. That's actually a real client. And what I actually did with that individual, as I saw the guilt that he held, and actually a lot of responsibility that he's holding on to. And so I actually reached over and I took the candy dish in the office and I dumped the candies onto the sofa. And I took the bowl and I reached across and I put the bowl right in his hands. I said, I want you to hold this. And I said, what's inside that bowl is the level of responsibility that belongs to both you, but it also belongs to your children. And so that bowl, as you hold that there, what I see as we interact together is this heavy burden of guilt and maybe even some shame for carrying a responsibility that belongs to some to you, but some to them as well. That's what it seems like. And so that was really a way of pulling those things together, but actually using an example or an illustration in order to make that happen. So I would encourage, again, any opportunity you can to be able to use that. And actually the next session, as I've learned more information, I'm going to take a large bowl back into that session because what has been shared with me is much greater than what I even realized. And so that small candy dish just didn't really encompass it. So the next session is going to start out with a bowl, and it's going to carry back into what was shared already. Okay? So this is the stating feeling and content. So the next one, self-disclosure. Typically in counseling, when we think of self-disclosure, we would encourage you to not create a dual role relationship by sharing information about yourself and creating a personal element of your therapy. So self-disclosure tends to make us feel a little bit like, well, wait a second, I didn't think we were supposed to do that. In the skilled counselor training model, actually they're encouraging a level of professional self-disclosure rather than necessarily the personal level. And so so if you think about specific self-disclosure versus general self-disclosure, so specific self-disclosure, which the model is not suggesting that we do, it might be something like, yeah, boy, I went through that whenever my children, were in high school, and wow, whenever my son was on the football team and he was being bullied by the other teammates, it was awful. I mean, it was just a terrible thing that we went through. That's very specific about your experience. That might just be a bit over the line. What might be a bit more general in that is to say, yeah, my kids were in athletics as well, and I remember at times there were some challenges like that within the athletic opportunities, and so that makes sense to me. Okay, so I've provided a very general, yes, I've experienced something very similar to that. On the professional side, a statement such as, I've worked with many families that have experienced, somewhat similar things. Certainly not the same as what you have, but other things like that. And so I feel pretty confident that we can work together and help you out in this. So that's the self-disclosure. Again, the key is remaining general in your disclosure. The next one is asking for concrete and specific expressions. So clients will often talk about something as if you understand what they mean, and so often we do not understand what they mean. And so this is really that opportunity to say, help me understand exactly what you mean by that. Can you give me an example of that? Can you tell me 2 times that happened? When was the last time that happened? So you're providing those concrete and specific expressions. Some of that helps to reveal incongruence, and if you're familiar with incongruence, it's just that sense of they say one thing and then they say something very different than that. The two do not go together. Sometimes in our clarifying statements, we will actually pick up on that and bring that out. Again, here when we have concrete and specific expressions, we may tend to flesh out some of those incongruencies. And then also continues to highlight sort of those patterns and themes. You remember the verbal tracking that you're already doing from the exploring stage. Asking for concrete, specific expressions may reveal those things as well. Okay? All right. The last section here is the additive empathy process. And the first one is immediacy. Immediacy it takes the concept of this sort of here and now. This is what it's like for you and me right here and now in this session. And so the text talks about an acknowledgement of a pattern effect onto the therapeutic relationship. Clients will want to talk about what happens outside and what has happened in the past. Immediacy actually brings that in right now. And so if a client is sharing with me about something that they experienced over the last week, and the husband came home and the wife was in a bad mood, and she took his supper and threw it in the trash, and she went off to bed and he was there kind of hungry and not really sure what happened. As they share that, that may trigger something in me, and I may actually share that. So I might say, oh, wow, man, I can sense that from you right now, even as you share. But yet, I sense the frustration that you had, but yet there's also that love that even permeates what you're saying now, and I can feel that even as we sit here and talk now. That would be an example of immediacy. And so it's our interaction within the here and now. Sometimes it's also sharing how it affects me, what you've shared. And so I remember, a client was talking about some pretty significant things that was happening in his marriage, and I just found it odd that he didn't seem all that angry about it, but I was more angry than he was. And so I said, John, help me understand. Why is it right now I feel more angry than you do? I feel more agitated and upset inside over what you're sharing with me, and I don't even sense that you feel that right now. And so again, I'm bringing that into the here and now, right in the session. And it's amazing how powerful that can be in interacting with your clients. Acknowledgement of negative self-defeating thoughts, feelings, behaviors as they affect the therapeutic relationship, and then heightened awareness of the therapeutic relationship. Again, if you see, the focus is on us as a therapeutic alliance or a helping relationship, and what is that like right now? What are we experiencing right now? And that can be quite powerful. The next one is identifying the general problem, solution, action taken, and feelings. And so this becomes kind of a bit more challenging. This is sort of like that stated content and feeling, but with an added element to it. So really you're looking at the problem, solution, action taken, and feelings that they experienced. A couple things with that. Reminder, the root problem and needed solution. So you're always going back to root problems, not just surface level problems. Repeated connection of current thought, feelings, and behaviors to habitual patterns. So really as you're thinking through this, you're thinking about the themes, the common themes and patterns, and you're creating a sentence that helps to pull those things together. So we'll go back to my hungry husband that's lost his dinner. Okay, so I might say something like, wow, this has sort of happened to you before. You come home and you're not really sure what's taking place. Your wife's pretty upset, and without really communicating with you, she dumps that food in the trash, and you stand there just sort of disillusioned by what you're seeing and experiencing. And as you've shared in the past, you then tend to go up and confront her in a very negative way. And so you come at her very forcefully, and which actually she then withdraws more from that. And so that's my way of kind of pulling together several different things that happen: that problem, the solution, the action taken, and some of the feelings that were involved in that. In your worksheet, you also have in the evaluation form, you also have a sentence as well that you can just sort of insert some different words in there. Okay? I think it's a great opportunity for reframing surface level situations into long-term negative patterns. Reframing is really taking what someone says, because typically what they say is going to be at a minimized level, and you actually reframe it back to them in reality of what it truly is. And so they take that, and whoa, it's kind of hard to hear at first, but then it begins to sink in, and they say, yeah, gosh, that is exactly what happened, and how I feel, and how I responded. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So really it's setting you up for being able to be a good reframer. Okay, I believe the last one here is in the additive empathy process is confronting in a caring way. And so one of the things I do in an intake session is, clients expect them to come in, them to sort of share everything, and you to make them feel good. And I don't always make my clients feel good. I don't think they all want that. And so I will say to them in the intake session that, sometimes you're going to come in and I'm going to pat you on the back and I'm going to say, oh, way to go, that was awesome, you did it. You followed through on what you said you were going to do, way to go. And other times I'm going to kick them in the pants. And I'm going to say, you just need that. And it's funny, whenever I say kick in the pants, probably 98% of my clients, they're just like, yes, please do that. I need that. I don't always need a shoulder to cry on. I need somebody to encourage me and push me and challenge me when I need to. That's why I'm coming here. So I think it's a blend of those things to be able to do really both of them. So confronting in a caring way, confronting negative self-defeating thoughts, feelings, behaviors as they affect the therapeutic relationship. And so it's confronting things that continue to keep happening. So you might say, when you went upstairs to actually confront your wife, how did you confront your wife this time that was different than all the other times? Because you know how it ended the other times. How was it different this time? Well, that wasn't different. Well, why was it not different? Well, because I just went up and I rapped on the door, I banged on the door, and I went in and I just started hollering. So how well does that work for you? You keep doing the same thing over and over. I know, I don't want to do it over and over. And so it's confronting in a caring way. You know I'm here for you. You know I'm encouraging you, and I want to see you do well at this, but, well, you're not doing well at it, so we got to make some serious changes here. So it's that confronting. So after care has been confirmed, confrontation is more readily accepted. They know you care, and they have your best interest in mind. And I don't have to confirm that with people. I don't have to say, I can kind of confront you now because, I have your best interest in mind. They already know that. I built rapport with them. We've had these here and now experiences. They know I've listened to them. I've attended well. They know that I'm there for them. And so it provides that opportunity for the confronting. Okay, that will lead us into the next stage. So thank you.